Alright, let's talk about the novelization for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, written by James Rowlands. I guess a good place to start would be my general thoughts regarding the movie, because this is a novelization, so it's gotta have the same story. So let me just say this straight away. Crystal Skull is not good. I don't hate it, I don't despise it, but it's not the first Indiana Jones anything that I would consume if I'm in the mood for an indie adventure. So my thoughts going into this book were just okay, the movie isn't good. I don't really like the story, and I think the story isn't well told in the movie. I think I've said this before in other places, but the first almost half of Crystal Skull is decent. It's not great, it's not bad, but it's decent. And then with the second half, it just falls apart. So I was curious, can this novelization actually fix Crystal Skull to some degree? And the answer is there was an attempt. I don't have to go over the general story because, Crystal Skull. We all know it. So let's just talk about the little differences in here, what the author tries to do to fix certain things, what he inserts, and just the general good and bad stuff. We get a lot of brand new stuff, like right at the beginning. We get a prologue set in 1546, which has like this weird, almost horror vibe to it, which kind of sets up the Crystal Skull to be something cool. And then the first chapter is just a little adventure with Indy and Mac. They are looking through an Mexican temple, like an ancient ruin, when they get kidnapped by the Soviets, which is fun. So this is different than the movie when they are obviously already kidnapped at the beginning of the film. I wonder if this was like filmed. It must have been in the script because it's in here and it's in the second Lego Indie game. We get a little bit more on the villain, and I think the character, Irina Spalko, benefits the most from this book. She has like a more interesting character in this, like her gimmick that she thinks she's psychic, which she may actually be, and her plans. It makes more sense in here, and it's interesting to read about. Then the story just mostly follows the movie, and again, I think halfway through it kind of falls apart. I think that's just a general problem with the story. It's better in here, slightly, but still not great. The author tries to do something to tie the aliens, with the Crystal Skull, together with like Indy's character arc, so to speak. It's like similar in Last Crusade. It's about finding the Holy Grail, but also, it's really about healing, wink wink, the relationship between Indy and his dad. So there's like a thematic thing going on. And Rowlands tries to do the same with like Spalko, the bad guy, is looking for like power and the meaning of things, and the author tries to tie that into with Indy being older now and discovering he has like a son, and Marion being back in his life, and that's him finding meaning, but it doesn't quite work. Again, there was an attempt, which I appreciate, but it's the Crystal Skull. On that note, let's just get to the ending. The ending of Spalko is so much more brutal in this. She has an out-of-body experience when she encounters the aliens. First off, it's better in the book because it doesn't have the terrible CGI effects from the movie. And also, it's just one alien in the room who kind of talks. Not really, but Indy can tell the alien is like making an offer to answer questions. Like, Indy actually sees the alien in this, but he and the others escape. Spalko stays back, she wants to know everything. And then she gets an out-of-body experience, where she basically sees her own body getting obliterated. It is a lot more brutal and horrifying in this book, in all honesty. Like, even her mind being now trapped in this vortex for eternity. Pretty nasty stuff. There's also a little bit of an attempt to fix Oxley's character, because Harold Oxley in the movie, it's just like a crazy guy, but in this one, there's more of an emphasis put on, he was like this dry, boring dude, but now he's like this hermit-looking guy. But at the end, he turns back into like the academic type, which is interesting. I think that's better handled in the book as well. So in total, this is a decent novelization that does add a bit of stuff. It expands on some characters, especially the villain, which is good stuff. But at the same time, Crystal Skull remains Crystal Skull, and the story just doesn't quite come together for me. I would recommend this though, I mean, over the movie, because at least you don't have like Shia LaBeouf and the monkeys, for example. The only thing left to say at the end, originally, Rob McGregor, one of the OG authors, the guy who wrote the first 6 Bantam indie novels back in the 90s, wanted to write this novelization. And that would have been very, very interesting to get him back to do that, instead of James Rowlands. Rowlands does a good job, but just as a fan of the original novels, it would have been cool getting McGregor back, because his Last Crusade novelization is fantastic. At least he got Staff of Kings instead, and then that was cancelled. But at least eventually published. Well, and I guess that concludes the Indiana Jones novelizations, because we ain't gonna get one for Dial of Destiny. Which is a shame, because while I think that movie sucks, I could actually see it working in novel form, where you can go more into like the characters and the backstories, more into detail. And you change a lot of the dialogue and make some of the characters more interesting to watch, or less annoying. I mean, even the Phantom Menace novelization managed to tone down Jar Jar a bit, so everything is possible. But yeah, looks like Crystal Skull is gonna remain the last novelization. What a shame. But again, it's not bad. That's at least something. We go out on a middling end.